If you had to guess, why do you think God put us here on this earth?
I don't really know. And I think about that every day. You know, why are we here? And you can say that, well, you're going to be faced in your life with problems, and there are ways to try to solve the problems you face that may work, and there are other ways that may compound the problem. So you have to, as you go along, you have to be aware of what you're saying and ask yourself questions about it. And but that doesn't mean to give up the quest. Murder and hate, violence so great, killing of brother by brother, weary the soul, dreary dark hole, freedom must surely be smothered. When he came round, his people were down, apathy was their manner. He brought 'em up till hope was their cup, liberty was their banner. My idol at that time, pretty much idol, was Martin Luther King. I'd been trying to write songs. I was living in Port Angeles, and the kids were young, and I'd go upstairs and I had it all fixed up where I was going to become the beginning of my fame, you know. And the day that I came home from school was the day that I wrote my first song, and I wrote it because King got assassinated, and it opened the gates, and so I've been writing ever since. So,
how important do you think our freedom of speech is, our First Amendment?
I think it's extremely important. There's probably nothing any more important than that. And when I was working with kids, I had kids that would want to hear some of my songs, so I'd sing them in my class, and then I had quite a few of those kids over the 40 years I taught were encouraged to begin writing songs, and they did, and they would come in and, Mr. Williams, I got a protest song for you, you know. So that always I felt good about that, you know.
As someone myself who promotes peace, some things that I get called are anti-Semitic and a Putin puppet. What do you think about, you know, people using that kind of stuff to downplay the promotion of peace?
Well, I think a lot of it is, there's probably many different reasons, but a lot of it is ignorance, and that people have learned growing up that we don't want to get rid of our weapons, because if we do, somebody's going to attack, and we're still building weapons, and maybe the rationale is, well, we got to build weapons, and maybe that'll keep us from being slaughtered too soon.
Yeah.
I don't know, but
I think there's a lot of money involved in building and selling weapons.
Oh, there is, and we've got many corporations that are still doing it. If war really was the answer, it seems like it hasn't worked very well.
Obviously the world's always changing, but it looks like a challenging world for the youngest generations coming out of high school right now, growing up to be adults. What would be some advice that you would want to give, 18-year-olds for a successful and happy life? And successful doesn't have to necessarily mean money, just means happiness. And
well, trying to find something that really interests you, that's positive for not just you, but everybody, so that you can be a positive influence on whatever you're doing to help other people have faith and courage in yourself, and explore ideas, and do a lot of reading of whatever your interest is, and supply interesting kinds of things from the past several, all the way back to a person called Jesus, and probably beyond that too. But just begin to challenge yourself and your ideas and not give up. It's not going to happen overnight, and you may well live out your life without seeing much progress, but it doesn't mean you shouldn't keep trying. And you know, who knows? If enough people are doing that around the world, maybe positive things, healthful things can happen. Healthy ideas can take over. But to give up is to say, oh, I'm not going to try anymore. And like I said, I'll be 90, and my dad and both of his parents were 95 when they died, so I assume if I don't get run over by a car or a truck, I may have another 4 or 5 years left. And I will keep trying as long as I can.
You mentioned something that was going to kind of be related to my next question. You mentioned Jesus. Do you think that it's important that people try to build a relationship with a higher power in order to help them kind of grow and guide them through life, or do you think that's not necessary?
No, I think it's important, and I think you can learn a lot from it if you don't let yourself be taken in by people that in the name of religion or God or whatever are not putting out the best message, and they're maybe trying to do something else. So you got to keep studying and ask yourself questions. And
how do you feel about the polarization that's going on, and what would you want to say to people that think that they're so different?
Well, I probably would try to share some of my similar kinds of experiences in my life, and to try to let them know that they're not the only ones that feel that way, that there are, thousands, if not many millions of people around the world that feel the same way that we do. And we can't give up on our quest for trying to have kids come into a world that's a little bit more peaceful.
I'm a complete pacifist, nonviolent. However, I do support the Second Amendment because I feel like I should have the right to defend myself. What do you feel about the Second Amendment? Do you have conflicting views there as also a pacifist, but what's your take on the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms?
I think it needs to be discussed, like you've had it discussed with you. And I think it needs to begin to occur in schools all around the country and all around the world, because kids got to know that and challenge them to be creative in their thoughts about what some of the possibilities are, and throw in some of life's little problems like this war or that war, and the number of people, human beings that have been killed in wars, and solicit their opinions about it. Well, how would you solve this problem? Is killing good? What you ever hear, thou shalt not kill? Well, how do you solve problems without going to war? Aren't there more intelligent ways of dealing with problems? And every human has problems, but to think you're going to cure a person's problems by killing a whole bunch of other people, to me, doesn't make any sense.
If you could, just in a couple sentences, you could just say something to the world as a closing statement, your best advice to the world.
Well, the best advice is listen to people that you have learned to respect because of the way they treat older people, the way they treat children, and so forth, and ask them questions. Well, how did you develop these ideas of trying to have positive influences on people? And see what they come up with, what their answer is. But always try to enlist as many people as you can in helping you understand. And at almost 90, I'm not giving up, so I'm still trying. And occasionally we have people come by here that thank us for standing out for peace and thank us for singing and so forth. Yes, I think it's important.
I think it's important too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for doing what you're doing, Sid. I appreciate it. It's such a pleasure to get to talk to you and ask you some questions, and it's an honor to learn something from someone with so much wisdom.
This was his plea, oh, let us be free. Judge us not by complexion. We will abide, hearts full of pride, until the struggle we have won. Black was the day he passed away, down in the city of Memphis. They had a need he came to lead, but he was killed by a sickness. Centuries ago wisdom did flow. He was a carpenter by trade. Just as he spoke, people he woke. Dark was the world when he was laid. When he came around, his people were down. Apathy was their manner. He brought 'em up till hope was their cup. Liberty was their banner.